is a bittersweet time of year for gardeners because a lot of the summer blooms have faded. My sunflowers are certainly on their way out, but at the same time, it is an exciting time because it's time to think about perennials for next year. So I've started a bunch of cool weather flowers to enjoy through the rest of this season, as well as picked up a few perennials for next year, and this is a great time of year to get them in the ground and get them ready for springtime. So let's take a tour of the ornamental garden and see what's going on. The echinacea over here is continuing to bloom nicely in the cooler weather. We can see some older blooms that are spent as well as some newer blooms that are coming in, so it's continuing to flower in this cool weather. Over here, the cosmos is doing quite well. This only recently started blooming, so it kind of just leafed out over the whole summer, and now it's finally blooming, so it's great to see. The zinnias are continuing to hang on despite being absolutely covered in powdery mildew. This is just kind of inevitable for zinnias so late in the season, but for me, and in my opinion, I could certainly take them down, but the blooms still look really nice and vibrant, so I'm just continuing to let it go. Over here I have some love slaves bleeding, and it is kind of a droopy plant, and truth be told, I should have staked this. It's kind of leaning over onto the other plants, and it is maintaining this beautiful vibrant color, so I am continuing to just let it go. Over here I have some columbine that I planted in the spring, and these will not be flowering for me this year, but they should come back in the springtime and bloom next year. I recently just put in some hollyhocks, again in anticipation for them to hopefully get established before dying back for the winter and then coming back again in the spring. Over here I have some echinacea that I planted in the spring, and I am excited to see the color as it comes in. It looks like only one of them is going to bloom this year, but interestingly I noticed that it was starting to reproduce, so I actually already have split some of these and pulled off the smaller plants and replanted them nearby. So hopefully those will have enough time to establish themselves before it gets cold and they die back. Over here we have more zinnia. Again, they're continuing to produce and kind of hang on, and there's a little pollinator enjoying this blooming process here. One of the great things about zinnias is how much the bees really love them. And back here we have this sunflower that really is pretty much done. I will be cutting this down soon, but the birds absolutely love munching on these seeds, so I'm leaving this out there for them in the meantime. I will also be collecting some seeds for myself to replant these next year as well. This little guy is a calendula that I planted out in the spring, and it really struggled through the heat of summer, but I'm glad it made it, and now it's finally blooming now that the weather has gotten cooler. Over here I have some foxgloves. These have been growing for quite some time. I was kind of hoping they would bloom this year, but I feel pretty good about their chances for coming back next year with some really beautiful blooms. Over here, this very sad looking plant is a hibiscus. It was late in the season when I purchased it. Hibiscus loves the heat and humidity of summer, so I'm not surprised to see it not loving this weather as things cool off. What I'm hoping is that it's had enough time to establish itself to come back strong next year. The hollyhocks are kind of in a similar situation. The hollyhocks, both the hollyhocks I planted that did bloom and the leaves that didn't bloom are at this point covered in what looks like some kind of fungus or rust. And I really just think it's kind of the natural cycle so late in the season, so I'm just letting it go. This is my favorite sunflower, the teddy bear sunflower, and the last blooms are starting to just sort of give out. And again, I am just letting this be to let it go to seed so I can collect some of the seeds and also let the birds feed on these seeds that they produce. Like the cosmos on the other side of the yard, this one also bloomed quite late, but it is a beautiful shade of purple, adding a bit of pop to the garden. My giant amaranth continues to look beautiful. The older ones are starting to brown at the top, but so much of it still looks beautiful. So I'm going to leave it for a while, but these will probably get pulled sometime in the next few weeks. And then the petunias up here in these planter boxes are looking great. So I'm glad to see these come back. These had struggled in some of the heat of summer, so it's nice to see them bounce back after a good heavy trimming and some additional fertilizer. Over in the front of the house, I have some mums that I purchased. I generally don't love mums, to be honest with you, but these are so cute. I thought they're kind of small and they have a sweet little blooms, and I really like these colors. I'm kind of lacking these colors right now in my garden, so these are some mini mums. In the front, I have some sweet williams that I recently planted. And I had my seedling tray in an area that got sun, really intense midday sun, but not a lot of other sun. And so these have been growing really slowly. So hopefully there is enough time for these plants to get established before they go dormant for the winter. Over here, I have planted my Celtic glossus seedlings, and these little guys are struggling a little bit because my dog keeps trampling them. So hopefully they can make it. I am so curious to see these blooms. I've never heard of Celtic glossus before. I was kind of rummaging through some unusual seeds. So hopefully they can make it. Here I have some lupin seedlings that I recently put into the ground. I really love lupin for its distinctive leaves. They're just such a pretty shape. Over here are my seedlings. I started these in September. Some of these are perennials, and some of them are annuals that prefer cool weather. So I have some snapdragons, for example, over here. I've already planted out the hollyhocks. I have some lupin as well that I've already planted out. I have some delphinium, again another perennial that I'm hoping to overwinter for blooms next year, as well as sweet william. Stock is a cool weather crop, so I'm hoping these I can get to bloom before it gets too cold. I'm particularly excited about these cottage pinks because I've never seen them before, and I really love planting somewhat unusual plants. I just get really excited if it's something that I've never seen before. Fall is a great time of year to go shopping for perennials because a lot of garden centers will put things on sale. They want to clear their shelves ahead of winter time. This is a kind of azalea that actually blooms in spring, summer, and fall. I bought two different kinds. This one is white with purple stripes, and then this other one is a double pink variety, but I thought it was just exciting to have azaleas that could bloom all year rather than just the typical one flush in spring. Azaleas prefer full sun, so I am trying to decide where to put them. In addition to full sun, they also need acidic soil. So I'm going to dig out a hole that's quite large for these, add some compost as well as some soil acidifier to make sure it's getting what it needs. Over here I have some hydrangea that, again, I purchased on sale. This time a little bit earlier, not the most recent purchase, but these have been in the ground for about a month getting established to hopefully bloom beautifully next year. So I have two different varieties of hydrangeas that I've put in over here. And my newest addition is a hosta. Now this is right up against the side of the house that gets shaded out in the afternoon, so I'm hoping this is a good spot for the hosta, which doesn't prefer to be in full sun all day. Here we have this beautiful dark foliage plant I just bought, and this is a sand cherry. So this will actually produce beautiful sort of pale white to pinkish blooms in the springtime, as well as the actual fruit of the cherry, which I believe is kind of tart. I'm not sure if I will actually try eating them, but just as an ornamental, this dark foliage is so beautiful. Thanks for coming along for a tour of my October ornamental garden. Fall is a tough time. It's a little sad to see so many flowers like these zinnias at the end of their cycle, but at the same time, it is super exciting to think about next spring and getting those perennials into the ground. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.